This episode is brought to you by TherapyNotes, TherapyNotes.com, and also Michael Hyatt and Company's Full Focus Planner. You can check it out at practiceoftherapy.com/Full Focus Planner. This is the Practice of Therapy podcast with Gordon Brewer, helping you to navigate your private practice journey. This is session number 169 of the Practice of Therapy podcast. Hello, folks. I'm Gordon Brewer. Glad you've joined me. Glad you're here with me for this particular episode of the podcast. And this is going to be this episode and the next are really kind of special episodes. I'm looking forward to you hearing from my friend Daniel Fava. And Daniel and I actually recorded these two episodes back in 2020. I guess I can't remember exactly when we recorded it, but it's been several months. And the reason I held off on putting these particular episodes out is because Daniel worked with me around just doing a redo of my practice website, and I wanted him to kind of take us through that process. And so I'm looking forward to you hearing from my conversation with Daniel and the process he took me through in just really redoing and doing a revamp of my practice website. It had gotten kind of old and tired and had not updated much on it other than the content, but the look of it really needed to change. And I was using a theme in WordPress, and we'll talk a little bit about some of that in this particular episode. That was really just kind of making it a little bit slow. But anyway, I drew on Daniel's expertise on website design and all that he knows about that. And he took me through this process. And actually, I got Daniel to do the updates for me. So the website is finally live, the updated website. You can look at that over at kingsportcounseling.com, and there'll be links here in the show notes so you can see the revamp. And it worked out well because I've just recently hired a new therapist back in December, and then another one who is starting here in a few weeks. And so got all those fresh faces up there. And anyway, I'm really thrilled with it. But I want you to be able to hear Daniel's taking me through that process of just really thinking about doing a website redesign. So anyway, we'll get to Daniel here in a minute. But one of the things I want to let you know about is that I've mentioned on a few episodes before the Full Focus Planner. It's a bound planner, and it's what I use to really kind of keep me on track with my productivity. But they've got a sale coming up, and it's going to be from March 16th through the 26th of March, I believe. But anyway, you can get 10% off any of their products by using the link here in the show notes. And really another way you can get to that is if you'll go to practiceoftherapy.com/full focus planner, you can get to that. And it's a great time to buy the planner. I'm really excited about being able to affiliate with the Michael Hyatt and Company and all the products that they've got. It's just a wonderful system for just keeping you on track with your productivity and your goals. And it's something I depend on every single day. And you can learn more about that by going to practiceoftherapy.com/full focus planner. As we get busy, we have to have a way to stay organized with our day in and day out. And the planner is what helps me do that. It keeps me on track. So be sure and check that out. Also, before we get to Daniel and this first part of this two-part series, I'd like for you to be sure and check out our sponsor for the podcast, and that is TherapyNotes, TherapyNotes.com. They are the leading electronic health record system for mental health providers in private practice. And as I've said before, they're who I use in my practice, and I absolutely love what they do. They have a support system that is second to none. When you call them, they are responsive, or you email them, you'll hear back from them within a few minutes. I know with me adding some new clinicians, I had some questions about that, and they responded right away. The other thing that they've got is a telehealth portal that you can do with your clients, and that's been so important for us, and it's included in the TherapyNotes subscription. So be sure and check them out, TherapyNotes.com, and if you'll be sure and use the promo code Gordon, just GORDON, you can try them out 2 months absolutely for free. So you can give it a test drive, if you will. So be sure and check them out, TherapyNotes.com. So, without further ado, here's my conversation with Daniel Fava about my website redo. Well, hello, everyone, and welcome again to the Practice of Therapy podcast. And I'm so glad for you to join me for this kind of special mini series or mini thing that I've teamed up with my good friend Daniel Fava. And Daniel's been on the podcast before, and he is one of those go-to people when I have website questions or things around that. And in this particular episode, what we're going to be doing is just talking about website redesign, because that's something that I'm going to be going through and sharing with folks as I go through that. And Daniel has been just gracious enough to partner with me on this and hold my hand as we go through this. So welcome, Daniel.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. This is such a fun idea. I was really excited when you reached out and had this idea, because I think that it will be a lot of fun to kind of pick through my process as a web design agency, and also your process that you're going through to redesign your website. And so I think folks are going to get a lot of good takeaways, especially if they're thinking about redesigning their therapy practice websites.
Yeah. So Daniel, what is as you see it, where's the starting place if somebody's thinking about redesigning their website or really wanting to do some overhauls with things?
Yeah, so I'm going to start with you. Basically, how I start with all of our clients that reach out with just an inquiry, and they just want to, they have a website project or maybe some SEO stuff that they want to do. So they come to us, fill out a quick form, name, email address, and all that sort of stuff. And then we hop on the phone. And really the place I always start with is the why. Why do you want to redesign your private practice website? Especially, why right now? Because most people, maybe they come at it and they're like, oh, my website's pretty old and outdated, so I need a new website. But it actually goes a lot deeper than that, because a website is and should be an investment into the future of your business. It's the way that people are going to find you, and it can be just a great tool to bring lots of traffic to your business and convert that traffic into new clients. So my question for you, Gordon, is why a website redesign right now?
Right. Well, one thing, I guess there's several reasons, is that I'm adding some new clinicians to my website, and I just figured this was just the timing of that is good, because I'm going to be adding their information to the website. But also, as you mentioned, it's really the look of my website has been about the same for the last 4 or 5 years. And so it is time to really kind of give it a facelift, just kind of like need to paint the house, kind of thing. But, the other thing too about the website is I recognize that is even more important, for lack of a better way to put it, the most important real estate that I think any practice has.
Yeah.
In terms of it's more important than my office in my way of thinking, because I know just from, just kind of, informal surveys of clients is that the vast majority of people that come to us find us because they found our website. And
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
it's important to keep that house, so to speak, in good repair. And I think just also I'm recognizing that for, feedback I've gotten from clients and just my staff is that it's the navigation on the website is a little off in terms
Yeah.
of being able to, easily find things. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm also realizing that when I created the website and I used, I'm one of those people that has always been a tinkerer. And so I like kind of playing around with things.
Yes.
And so I taught myself how to use WordPress several years ago, and have just kind of gotten in the habit of, my website probably got too many pages in it in terms
Mm-hmm.
of not really relevant
Yeah.
stuff, a little bit clunky.
Yeah.
The menu is too full on the website, those kinds of things. So
Yeah.
those are kind of mental notes I made for myself as to
Yeah.
why I really want to change things up.
Okay. Okay. That makes
Yeah.
sense. All right. So let me just sort of review here. We've got you're adding new clinicians to the website. So there's updates coming to the content. It's about 5 years old, so it's a little bit dated there. You want to just make sure that it is functioning well and works well, because it is the face of your business. Like you said, it's super important. And you also want to clean up the navigation, make it easier for people to use. So the next question I always ask a potential client is, out of all those reasons, what is the most important one to you in your business?
Oh, wow. That's a great question. Again, the impression that we make on potential clients, I
Yeah.
think, is the most important
Yeah.
thing. Yeah.
Okay. And why?
One of the things that I know that we have kind of built our reputation on, at least in our community, is our responsiveness. I was having a conversation just yesterday with our intake coordinator, and she was talking about how people are just really pleased the fact that we get back in touch with them so soon. And so they, and just being able to respond quickly, because for whatever reason, other therapists, other practices in town, they say they call, but they send them a message or whatever, and nobody responds.
Yeah.
And so, just being able to match all that up, I think is part of the why. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. That makes sense. Cool.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So that's kind of like my exercise. I took you through a little bit of just digging into some of those initial reasons why someone might want to redesign their website. And obviously there can be like a host of other reasons. If somebody's like, I really want to add groups to my practice and do that more. Sometimes that's a reason. Sometimes people they're wanting to build online courses, so they need a new website that kind of positions them, stuff like that. So now that we have kind of dug into why you're thinking about doing this redesign right now, I want to switch gears a little bit and talk a little bit about the business. And up to you how deep you want to get into numbers and stuff like that. But I always want to know, when I'm talking to somebody about redesigning a website, we could just stop and say, oh, Gordon just needs a new website. That's the front of his business. Obviously, it needs to be clean and work well, and so he can still be so responsive to his clients. But we also, I think, because goals really drive what website design really is, we need to talk about those things, because it's great to have a pretty website, but if I'm not aware, as your web designer, not that I'm doing this, but I'm saying, if I'm talking to a new client, if I'm not aware that, oh, you actually really wanted to increase your visibility in Google search engines before we did the project, there's extra things that we're going to want to include that we're really going to want to make sure that we deliver on.
Right.
So that's really like my next question. In the same vein that I asked you, what's most important to you in the why question is, well, what are the most important goals that you have for your business for the next 12 months?
Right. Right. Yeah. So one is adding more clinicians, and the thing that's interestingly, as we're recording this, one of the things is we're in the middle of this little thing called the pandemic. Yeah, it's not a little thing, but one of the things that I'm recognizing is there are a lot of potential for adding clinicians that want to do just telehealth. Yeah, and so I'm in the state of Tennessee, and so I'm in a small geographic area, but my website has been focused on clients in this geographic area. So one thing in the back of my mind is how do I maybe have a website that has more of a statewide reach? In terms of my location where my office is, we're pretty close to maxing out the number of clinicians that I could house here. Mm-hmm. But if we added clinicians that were strictly online, that's going to be fairly unlimited.
Yeah.
And so that's part of my business plan for this next year, is to really think about how do I add clinicians that aren't necessarily housed here in the brick and mortar space.
Yeah.
And so that's one of the goals.
That's awesome. I just want to stop you right there because, for me as a designer and a consultant and strategist or whatever I call myself, I don't even know these days. But my bells kind of go off right there because that will impact a lot of the content that we write. It'll impact a lot about how we talk about your practice on the website. So for me, that's a really big nugget that's going to play a key role in this project. So something for you to kind of take back and remember, how can I be speaking about that on my website? How can I make sure that people are aware that we offer telehealth, stuff like that?
Right. Yeah. And that's, And so currently, as I mentioned, in the middle of this COVID pandemic, we're pretty much all telehealth at this point. And we have a pop-up that comes up just kind of saying that, we're available, but we're doing online kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so, so that's kind of I guess maybe the overarching goal for this next website.
Do you have any 12-month goals around, new leads into the business or new clients, revenue, anything like that you want to share?
Yeah. So, in terms of, I think when you have a group practice, one of the things you want to do is to be able to make sure that you've got referral sources constantly bringing new clients so that you can keep your therapists full and keep making sure that they are getting the caseloads that they want to carry. So that's kind of I don't have any specific numbers around that, but for my practice, a full caseload would be for our average therapist would be between 20 and 25 sessions a week. And so you do the math and think about, okay, how many clients is that we're bringing in, and how many do we need to bring in to maintain that? So
and that's good to know. That's good to know about your capacity, and because that's also a good goal. If you can max out those clinicians, then it's kind of okay. We can bring on another one, and keep kind of layering on the the revenue and the growth that way.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Well, in the same vein, that we did before with, why do you want to redesign now? I'm going to ask you, out of these 4 reasons here, 4 goals, you want to add more clinicians, you want to be more on top of the telehealth marketing towards people who are looking for telehealth, and also increase business by getting more clinicians who are just focused on telehealth, improve your referral networks, and also max out those sessions per week for all your clinicians. So out of those four, what's the most important for you as you think about heading into the next year?
Right. I would say being able to make sure that the telehealth is an easy process for potential clients.
Yeah.
Of them understanding that process.
Yep.
Of understanding that, and then just there's almost two kind of parallel goals there. And again, is the number of referrals coming in, fairly consistently.
Yeah. A lot of the times these goals are obviously like intertwined, because if you increase the number of referrals, you're going to impact your bottom line, and bring in more revenue for sure.
Right.
But yeah, so that's super helpful, for me to know if I was somebody who's going to be helping you with this redesign, then I come away from this meeting and this conversation knowing what the main focus needs to be for this redesign. So was this helpful for you as you think about heading into this?
Yes, it is. And I think that's what I love about it is, again, the listeners to the podcast hear from me all the time, know your why. And so I think that's helpful in, being able to clarify that.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So as far as, a redesign goes, that's really the best place to start is with the why. So, if anyone is listening to this and it's something, whether they're thinking about DIYing it and doing the website themselves, or they're going to hire out for it, just knowing before going into that process some of these goals that they're really wanting to hit in the next year. Because too, it could even be that you start out, you're thinking, okay, I'm just going to DIY this thing to save money. But then when you start looking at your goals and your vision, and maybe you've got some big, hairy, scary goals, and you might need to think a little bit bigger. And if you're going to want to reach some of those goals, then I would encourage somebody to reach out to a professional to build the website, because you might end up spending a ton of time and some money on trying to put it all together, which can be very time consuming, or you can save a ton of time, but invest in something that's going to increase those conversions. It's going to be SEO, optimized for search engines, all that sort of stuff.
Right. And that's, I'd like to echo that as well in terms of, being aware of your ROI, your return on investment of not only your time, and, not only your money, but also your time. And that, and this is going to be something that's going to be that I'm thinking about in this redesign. How much of this do I really want to do myself? Right. Even though I have probably have the skill set for doing that. How do I redesign in a way that's going to free me up to work on other things? And then, with the redesign and with the goals that I have for my practice, should pretty quickly see the return on the investment with this.
Right. Yep. Absolutely. Yeah. Really important to know your numbers, because then you're going to know how much you're going to want to invest, and also just know how quickly are you going to reap the benefits and get that, return back.
Right.
I just recently spoke to actually one of our past clients. I interviewed her, and she's owner of a group practice in North Carolina. And I was just kind of digging into her business a little bit, and I asked her, why did you decide to redesign your website? Getting into that why. And she was just like, because I knew the numbers. Like, she was paying all this money to some other company for marketing and building their website. And she knew if she redesigned the website and put that investment up front, I think it was within she knew within 3 months, she would get that back, because conversions would increase and all that sort of stuff.
Right.
And so it can really drive a lot of your decisions to know your numbers and your data.
Yeah. And it's, it's a money mindset thing. I think for a lot of us, we do like to be frugal. We like to be able to save money, that kind of thing. But you can also be penny wise and dollar poor when it comes to things and being able to know when to outsource and be able to kind of put, hand it off to somebody else that's really better equipped to do those things.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good. Well, Daniel, I know we're going to have much more to come. Tell folks how they can get in touch with you, and if they want to kind of go through this process of thinking about redesigning their website, how do they get in touch with you?
Yeah, absolutely. You can go over to privatepracticeelevation.com, and I've got a podcast over there. But if someone is ready to get started, you can go to privatepracticeelevation.com/apply, and we've just got a quick little form there. And then we can hop on a phone call together to see if you're a good fit. And if you are a good fit, then we'll actually schedule a little bit more time where we'll do an exercise similar to what we did today. We'll really dig into some of the goals and some of the challenges of your practice and business, and see how a website could help you overcome those challenges.
Sounds good. So be sure to listen out next week for the second part of this, where we're going to really dive into the nuts and bolts and really kind of some of the back end kind of stuff around this particular project. So I hope you enjoyed listening in on my conversation with Daniel as he kind of walked me through the beginning steps of redoing my website. One of the things about a website is that it is really kind of your number one marketing tool for your practice. And so it's so important to have a good one. And one of the things that I knew just from having, talking with other people that are kind of experts in the field around website design is that you really want to have a clear call to action when people come to your website. One way to think about it is when they come to your website, do they know what to do? Do they know how to get in touch with you? Do they know, how to find out how to make an appointment? And that needs to be front and center on your website. And so I'm still in the process. I know we've gotten the look of the website changed, and but I'm in the process of just changing some of the copy on my website as well. And I'm realizing that I've had some, I've not followed the advice that I give. I don't practice what I preach, so to speak. But I think if you'll go to our website, kingsportcounseling.com, which is my private practice website, you'll be able to see kind of how we're structured and give you a kind of a peek behind the curtain into my practice. So you can check that out again at kingsportcounseling.com. And in this next week's episode, we're going to delve in more into this process of revamping the website. And, Daniel's going to ask me some more questions about the changes that I wanted to see in my website, and takes me even more in depth into this process of his way of consulting with people about redoing their website. So giving you, again, a peek behind the curtain in my conversation with him and getting his expert help on that. And one other thing I will say here real quickly before we end is being able to recognize when it's time to outsource. And that was one of the things that I really recognized, even though, as I told Daniel, I love tinkering around with the website, and I know a lot about how to build a website and how to use WordPress, but it was a much better use of my time to outsource that to Daniel. So anyway, be sure and check Daniel's website out, or his resources at Private Practice Elevation. And again, there'll be links here in the show notes and show summaries to find out more about what Daniel does with his business. So Yeah. So thanks for joining us. And before you go, be sure and check out the Full Focus Planner. Again, the big sale going on where you can get 10% off all of their products. If you'll go to practiceoftherapy.com/full focus planner, you can find out more about those productivity tools that I use myself every single day. And so I wouldn't, just want to make sure you know about those things. And also be sure and check out our sponsor for the podcast, TherapyNotes, therapynotes.com. They're the leading electronic health record system for private practices. They will help you get your EHR set up. And if you're using another one, they'll transfer the data for you. So they are so great to work with. And be sure and check them out, therapynotes.com, and be sure and use the promo code Gordon, just GORDON, and you can try them out for 2 months for free. So be sure and check them out. So take care, folks. Glad you joined me for the podcast. Do take time to subscribe to the podcast wherever you might be listening to it. And leave us a review and give us a rating. That would be very much appreciated. I love getting feedback from people. And also for those of you that will email me every now and then, thanks so much for your emails. I'm so glad you're reaching out to me and letting me know that the things that we're doing here on the podcast are helpful to you, and share it with a friend too. If you have friends out there that might be interested in the podcast, I'm grateful to you for sharing that with them. So take care, folks. Hope you have a great rest of your week or weekend whenever you might be listening to this, and join us for part 2 on the website redo episodes. Been listening to the Practice of Therapy podcast with Gordon Brewer. Please visit us at practiceoftherapy.com for more information, resources, and tools to help you in starting, building, and growing your private practice. And if you haven't done so already, please sign up to receive the free private practice startup guide at practiceoftherapy.com. The information in this podcast is intended to be accurate and authoritative concerning the subject matter covered. It is given with the understanding that neither the hosts, guests, or producers are rendering legal, accounting, or clinical advice. If you need a professional, you should find the right person for that.